we did like a few videos in regards to this topic, right? So last one was roughly about a month ago. SATP is huge. Step 4 for APIs, secure asset transfer protocol that Gilbert Verdian outlined. And I even saw Greg Lunt, right? He put a lot of emphasis and focus recently on why we should recognize what's going on with like SATP, why it stands out, and so on. For you personally, what is the major thing? Is why should so many people who are into quant pay more attention to this? Like, I mean, I have the answers, but I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I always wanted to hear a little bit more from your perspective in regards to just that SATP. Why is it such a big deal?
Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of reasons why you should care for SATP beyond being a quant fan. I would argue that if you're looking, maybe looking in the future isn't the right term, but if you're an investor in this space, you're trying to look at what happens 5-10 years from now, right? You're probably not trying to look at what happens tomorrow or the day after. Well, SATP is exactly that long-term vision to have full-scale interoperability with different DLTs. So, for example, a lot of us probably know how TCP/IP works, right? Like, it's probably how you're able to, or how we're even able to stream right now on completely different setups. Like, I'm on a Mac, and you might be on a Windows or something. Some of that communication comes through TCP/IP. SATP is trying to be a similar thing to this, but for blockchain technology. And how they're doing that is through API gateways, the same way OVERLEDGER leverages these gateways to have full-scale interoperability. And it's not just between blockchains, right? But it can be, say, real-time gross settlement systems, which is settlement for financial transactions within banking to connect with blockchain and DLT. Of course, there's a ton of different value added and efficiencies that brings. But beyond this, to me, the largest reason why I think SATP is so huge in this space is because there's a lot of projects trying to solve interoperability in this space. There's Chainlink with their CCIP. There's Polkadot bridging different ecosystems together. There's Atom with their internal blockchain communicator. These are all great solutions, but none of these are being integrated at an internet scale. And what I mean by internet scale is that Quant's officially working on this standard with MIT and the IETF. MIT was actually one of the founders of TCP/IP, so there's some precedence there. And then the IETF is the official standard-setting body for the internet. So think about that for a moment. You have all these other projects that are trying to solve interoperability in their own way. And then there's this one project that's building an interoperability standard with the standard-setting body that governs the internet. So there's kind of levels to this, right?
Yeah, there's more than enough levels. I mean, even just looking at this, right? This comes like straight from their PDF and so on. And I know some people may think of like, yeah, this is some of the boring stuff. But why mention some of this? So look at this real quick, right? SITP defines 3 core flows: transfer, initiation flow, after the identity and asset verification flow. Out of scope, a sender gateway proposes a session to receiver gateway. Now, some of the stuff, I get it, guys. It's the technical stuff. And you might be just a retail investor. You're like, well, I acknowledge it, but I don't really care. Here's the key thing, right? So I've outlined a few times on our show, and guys, please smash that like where we can get this out to a more broader base. If you haven't done so already, I want to keep emphasizing that. We have a pretty decent crowd of people here concurrently, over 50. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for doing that. But I want to mention this. So recently, this topic got brought up onto crypto Twitter. We totally recognize HBAR. We totally recognize some of these other particular platforms. But it was mentioned recently, HBAR, they're going to have to tackle the whole thing with APIs. So if Quant, through SATP, for instance, with the interoperability and so on, we always mention the whole thing of, Quant with OVERLEDGER allows 100 plus blockchains to be, fully interoperable. But the HBAR thing, there is something there. We already have the partnership with Hedera, Quant and Hedera, and so on. But that said, it would make sense to me, even if you're looking at it from the perspective of, there's NDAs, you can't come out with all this information right off the bat and so on. I get that. But at some point, if Hedera is going to tackle this subject of APIs, you already have, just like what says here, some of the evidence that get it done with Quant. I mean, you know, am I too far off base here? Tokenizer when it comes to that? I mean, there's a lot of significance. I mean, APIs is a big thing.
For sure. There's actually a really interesting fact on this that I think a lot of people missed out on, and it's really interesting you bring that up because the co-manager for Hedera's treasury, that's Paulo Tasca. That's actually the co-founder and initial CEO of Quant Network, who actually also works at 3 of the other Hedera governing members spots now. So that's UCL, London School of Economics, and then there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's real interesting you mentioned the kind of overlap between Hedera's APIs and then, you know, Quant working with different API gateways to solve interoperability. Well, the foundation's pretty much already laid there. And to kind of add a little on to Paulo, the current co-treasury manager for Hedera, he's actually also a committee member to ISO TC307.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff to see this. I mean, you know, I wasn't aware of what you just mentioned in regards to we say it was Paul what?
Paulo Tasca.
Paul Tasca. Okay. I mean, even right here, right? This is Claire. I think it's Facer. Some people say it's Voucher. I don't remember. But she's the product manager. Look what it says here for just a second, guys. I mean, we'll kick it into some of our other particular coverage we have with Tokenizer, but you know, it says we see a network of networks future, much larger than current internet of today, transacting data, information, and value. In regards to SATP, the protocol aims, and I know it's kind of maybe a little hard to read, but it says aims to enable the transfer of assets across distributed ledger technology networks in a secure manner. This will be achieved in part through standardizing communication between networks and securing transactions across networks. Again, guys, understanding the SATP connection with APIs and why it's so big. So here at CTN Tokenizer, and I know you're kind of familiarizing yourself a little bit with our particular platform, we cover a lot of different you know, projects, whether it's, you know, XRP with the, you know, the bank-to-bank payments, you know, XLM, like we mentioned earlier, you know, excites you with XDC. It's more of a niche market to cover, especially as content creator with TradeFi. But my key thing is this whole thing of, you know, what excites a lot of us is, let's be honest, it's the payment ones, because we understand that's utility being kicked in over and over. Quant has been criticized in the past, which I don't see why, but they've been criticized in the past, like, yeah, you know, they got all this interoperability thing going on, but in reality, you know, I want to see more of the utility being used through payments, because, you know, that tells me, you know, we're going to have some crazy pumps in the future, not really looking at the broader scope of things. But you already see that there's enough evidence to support, you know, we use this analogy a lot. Shout out to my fellow co-hosts on Mondays and Wednesdays, Sean the Crypto Smith at Utility Talk Now. And that is, Quant is like literally the plumbing. Do you really care that, you know, when you buy a house, or you're the BlackRocks of the world, that, you know, hey, BlackRock, I saw you purchase the Mall of America. I'm just throwing that example out there. What kind of PVC plumbing do they use? I mean, I know that's going to connect the whole mall together. Who cares? Who cares? All you need to know is that it all works and it's all connected. And that's kind of like the way I look at Quant. I look at it like they're the ones putting it all together. There has to be a certain amount of value. But to further solidify some of our particular statements, then you do actually have the API connection, and you do actually have the whole thing with SATP. So when we mention some of these things, guys, about SATP and like it's huge, Greg Lunt mentions it's huge, that's not just to like get views and get people rattled, but in reality, Tokenizer, it is huge.
It most definitely is huge. Yes, I can 100% agree on that.
Yeah, 100%. So if anything, we're going to show you guys just one quick thing. And actually, shout out to this guy who's Quant Papa. You may not be aware a little bit more in regards to SATP. You're going to hear Martin Hargreaves featured in this particular clip. And kind of like what Quant Papa mentions, a random QNT SATP video that falls out of my pocket. Look at what is mentioned here. It's about roughly 2 minutes long. We'll kick it back into the comments. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for this special edition of Crypto Talk Now with our wonderful guest, deep dive researcher, the one and only Tokenicer. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
Natively inbuilt in the node software. This is when you really need a third-party provider to do the interop cross networks, right?
Yeah, I think if you come back to the use cases, the use cases that we talk about are effectively global trade, CBDC, and capital markets type use cases. None of those are going to be trading on Polkadot or Tezos or any of the crypto type things. So this is more about the actual the protocol kind of for the future for the grown-up institutions. Now, it's not to say that some of those protocols might not move up into that space, but they're not at the moment. They're kind of the crypto world, and they have a lot of quite technical and idiosyncratic solutions across a variety of different networks. We know this because we have to connect to all of them as part of our product. They're funny like that. But I think this is, if you look at some of the names on there, it does position it between that and the use cases. It does position it fair distance away from a lot of the existing networks. I think Hyperledger would be a good addition to that because they're in that space. Potentially Consensus if we could get them. But I think you're right, David. I think there's a message in there around who we're doing this for and why we're doing this, which is not really related to the kind of the current crypto industry.
I know some people want me to turn that up. Unfortunately, that's the highest it goes. But the key thing is that was from Martin Hargreaves, who is the CTO, Chief Technology Officer from Quant. Quant Papa says payment use case is small. Blockchain and DLT is way more than just simple payment. That's a good point.
That's something I can completely agree with, especially in regards to Quant. Payments are just one vertical of what Quant's interoperating. Like, if you think all Quant is doing is connecting different payment channels together, you're not quite getting the full picture yet. Think of different technologies that can connect together in terms of, different systems, different networks. So that can be with, say, an Ethereum application that's accessible through, let's say, a permission network like Corda.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great thing you just brought up. So, it is a lot more than payments. How about we break it down to more layman's terms, right, guys? So, we're always saying things like, Quant is like investing in Microsoft in the early 1980s. Based off what Tokenicer and also Quant Papa just mentioned, here's one way of looking at it. Is Microsoft just bound to Windows? No. Is it bound to just like the Xbox games and stuff like that? No. It's so much more of a broader. There's so many products, so many services, right, when it comes to Microsoft. So I like how you guys basically broke it down. Let's see here. I want to read this from Quant Papa. Payments was the first use case. Internet of Things, or as Gilbert would say, right, Tokenizer? The Internet of Trust has gone by way bigger.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.